If you've ever built anything in the cloud, I mean anything at all, you have definitely run into this wall. Security groups versus network ACLs.
Oh, yeah.
They both filter traffic, they both live in your VPC, and let's be honest, they both just look like these long, boring lists of rules.
Right. And that's the trap. People think they're interchangeable, but they're fundamentally different.
And treating them the same way is probably the fastest way to get yourself into trouble. We're talking security holes, debugging nightmares.
It's one of the most common operational failures we see, easily. One is basically an instance-level stateful firewall, and the other is a subnet-level stateless packet filter. Totally different beasts.
Exactly. And that is our mission today. We are skipping the whole 101 intro and jumping straight into the distinctions that actually matter.
We're going to hit the big three: scope, state, and rules.
Get those three down and all the confusion it melts away. You'll know exactly which tool to grab for which job.
Yep.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting with scope. So where do these things actually live?
So you have to visualize the topology. It's everything here. I always use the gated community analogy. It just clicks for people.
Okay, I like it.
Your whole VPC, that's the entire neighborhood. And inside, you've got your streets, right? Those are your subnets.
The neighborhood and the streets. Got it. So in that community, let's talk about the NACL first. The network ACL, where is it?
The NACL is at the subnet level. It's the guard shack. It's that main gate at the entrance to the street.
Ah.
It controls every single car coming in or out of that entire street segment. And here's the key part. It applies the same set of rules to every single house on that street.
So it's broad, it's collective. If I have, say, 20 different servers running in that subnet, they all have to follow the exact same NACL rules to get traffic in or out of their street.
Precisely. It is a very, very coarse filter. Just looking at the traffic, the IP addresses, the ports, and making a decision at the boundary. It has no idea what's going on with the individual servers inside.
Okay, so NACL is the guard shack. Let's pivot then. The security group, or SG. What's its job in this analogy?
The security group is so much more surgical. It operates at the EC2 instance level. It's the doorman standing right at the front door of your specific house, your server.
Oh, that's a huge difference.
It is.
It means I could have two servers side by side on the very same street.
Mm-hmm.
The NACL lets the traffic past the guard shack, but when it gets to the front door, the two doormen, the security groups, can have completely different guest lists.
Exactly right. And that granularity is what makes the security group so powerful. It's the personal bodyguard for your application, attached right to its network interface.
So the big takeaway on scope is that it's all about layers. NACLs control the street, SGs control the individual house.
Right.
Which also means, wait, if one server wants to talk to its next-door neighbor in the same subnet, the traffic never actually leaves the street.
Correct.
So the NACL is completely irrelevant. It doesn't even see that traffic.
That's a huge architectural insight.
Yeah.
For any instance-to-instance communication inside a subnet, you rely purely on security groups. The NACL's only job is protecting the boundary of the subnet itself.
Understood. Okay, that's scope. Now, let's move from where they live to how they think. Or don't think. Statefulness. This is where things really fall apart for people.
This is the big one. It's the difference between having a memory and having none. Security groups are stateful, network ACLs are stateless. And this changes everything about how you have to write your rules.
Okay, let's start with the smart one, the stateful security group. What does having a memory actually mean here?
It means the firewall is tracking the entire conversation.
Yeah.
So let's say you send a request to a web server on port 443. The security group sees that inbound request and says, okay, I'll allow this.
Right.
Because it's stateful, it automatically knows that any traffic coming back out from that server as a response belongs to that same conversation.
Yeah.
So it just lets it back out.
Yeah.
No extra rule needed.
So I just need one rule. Allow inbound HTTPS on port 443. I don't have to write a second rule to let the web page data go back out to the user.
You don't. The SG is smart enough. It handles that symmetry automatically. It's a much more application-aware device.
But hold on, doesn't that take up resources? I mean, tracking every single connection, maintaining these state tables. Isn't there a performance hit compared to just a simple packet check?
That's a great question. And yeah, that's the friction point. There is more processing overhead. But in modern cloud platforms, this is all so optimized and absorbed by the virtualization layer that for most workloads, it's pretty much negligible.
Yeah.
Now, compare that to the NACL.
The forgetful one.
The forgetful one. The NACL is stateless, zero memory. It
Damn.
treats every single packet in and out like a total stranger.
Every time.
Every single time. It's a much lower level filter, closer to the network hardware, and it's optimized for one thing: raw speed.
So if it's forgetful, what happens when my server tries to reply to that web request?
And this is the classic failure. The request comes in, the NACL checks its inbound rules. Let's say you allowed it. Great. The server does its thing, sends the response back out.
Okay.
The NACL now sees this outbound packet and checks its outbound rules.
And if I only allowed port 80 inbound, I now need another totally separate rule to allow the return traffic to go outbound.
You absolutely do. And this is where a little detail about TCP connections trips everyone up. That return traffic, it doesn't go back out on port 80.
Right. It uses those high-numbered ports. The, what are they called?
Ephemeral ports. They're dynamic, high-numbered ports the client uses to establish the connection. Usually something like 1024 all the way up to 65535.
So you have to write an outbound NACL rule that allows traffic to that entire massive port range?
You do. And if you forget that rule, the NACL just drops the response packets silently.
Oh, I've been there. We've all been there. Staring at the logs for hours thinking, but I allowed the request. Why is nothing coming back?
That's the stateless trap. Almost every time, it's a forgotten outbound NACL rule for the ephemeral ports.
So, key takeaway. SG is stateful, it's smart, it handles the return trip for you. NACL is stateless, dumb, and you have to manually create rules for both directions.
Perfect summary.
Okay, that brings us to our final differentiator. And this one is huge for security strategy. The rules themselves, specifically the power to just say no, the power to deny.
This is fundamental. Security groups are allow only. That's it.
Allow only.
By default, they deny everything. And the only thing you can do is poke holes in that wall by writing rules that explicitly permit specific traffic. They have no concept of an explicit deny rule.
So if I have a rule that's pretty permissive, say I allow all traffic from my internal network, but then I find one bad server on that network that's gone rogue.
Yep.
I can't write an SG rule that says deny traffic from this one specific IP.
You cannot. You can only define who is allowed in. You can't explicitly ban someone who would otherwise be allowed. It's about defining the desired state of access, not blacklisting.
Okay, so that immediately raises the question. If I spot a malicious IP address hammering my systems and I need to ban it, like right now, where do I put that ban list?
And that is the job of the NACL. Network ACLs support both allow and deny rules.
Okay.
And crucially, they process rules in order by number. So the first rule that matches a packet wins.
The numbered rules, that's key. It gives you a hierarchy.
Exactly. With an NACL, you can write a rule with a low number, say rule 100, that says deny all traffic from this bad IP. Then you can have a rule below it, like rule 200, that says allow all traffic from everywhere else.
And because it checks them in order, it hits rule 100 first, drops the bad traffic, and never even gets to the allow rule.
That's it. That makes the NACL the perfect spot for your blacklist, for that emergency incident response. You stop the malicious traffic at the subnet gate before it can ever even knock on the server's door.
It's the network choke point. And of course, both have that implicit deny at the end, right? Nothing matches. It's dropped.
They do, but they get there in different ways. The NACL has a literal deny rule at the end. The SG just gets there because it only has explicit allows.
Okay, so we have scope, state, and rules. But in the real world, they both exist. What happens if they disagree? If the NACL says yes, but the SG says no, who wins?
That's the final piece of the puzzle for debugging. Because traffic has to pass through both, it has to satisfy both rule sets.
So if the NACL lets it through the gate, but the SG doorman says you're not on the list.
The traffic is denied.
Yeah.
End of story. The doorman stops it.
And the other way around. If the NACL explicitly denies it at the subnet gate, even if the SG has a wide open allow rule,
It's denied. It never even makes it to the front door to be evaluated by the SG. Most restrictive rule across both systems always wins.
you need a green light from both.
You need a green light from
Yeah,
both.
that clears up so much. Okay, so what does this all mean? Let's bring it home for the listener. They're sitting down to design their network. What's the practical best practice advice here?
The most important guidance is this. Security groups should be your daily driver, your primary defense. Use them for everything.
Everything granular. Though.
Exactly. Application rules, internal segmentation, allowing SSH, allowing your database connections. They're flexible, they're stateful, they are just so much harder to misconfigure for day-to-day traffic.
Always use the tool that remembers the conversation.
Right. And NACLs. You should treat NACLs like heavy artillery, an emergency layer. Use them very, very conservatively.
So what are they good for then?
Two main things. First, that explicit blacklisting we talked about, banning bad IPs, helping with DDoS mitigation. And second, for very broad, very rigid network segmentation. Things like making sure your PCI-compliant subnet can never, under any circumstances, talk to your dev subnet.
So don't be tempted to manage all your everyday traffic with NACLs.
Please don't. It is an immediate recipe for debugging hell. You'll be chasing ephemeral port rules forever. Stick with SGs for the day-to-day. Only bring in the NACL when you need that explicit denying power or have a major compliance mandate.
That feels like a perfect mental model. NACL for the big bands and subnet isolation. SG for the fine-grained application-level control.
You've got it.
You know which one has a memory and which one needs 2 rules for every chat. That's the shortcut right there.
And if we connect this to the really big picture, something to think about. We've established SGs are the primary defense and NACLs are the heavy artillery for errands.
Right.
So how does that architecture hold up when you're facing a massive automated DDoS attack? One that's coming from thousands of different constantly changing IP addresses. You can't write thousands of NACL deny rules by hand.
Oh, wait.
And the sheer volume of packets might overwhelm even that stateless check. At what point does your security strategy have to shift entirely, away from these tools and toward something bigger, like an external scrubbing service? That's a whole other level of architecture to think about.
It's a fantastic and frankly a little scary thought to end on. When do your own firewalls stop being enough? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the firewall face-off. We hope this knowledge really sticks. We'll catch you next time for more essential insights.